All right, everybody. 6:30 on the nose. Let's go. We've got everything recorded and the chat box is open. Marty and Des are watching. If you have any questions, anything you want me to answer at the end of it. If you're new here, this is part of the workshop series. And so I do this once every couple of months, sometimes a little bit more if I think our little community might benefit from it. And I'll tell you, oh, Carrie, God bless your mom. Yeah, I know. We have to walk our moms through everything, but look at all these moms here just crushing life. Okay, so we're going to a couple of things you need to know. Okay, so my name is Dr. Jody Carrington. I'm a clinical psychologist by training. This is not therapy. This is considered an education series. So I talk for 60 minutes on some of the things around overthinking, some of the research, what we can do about it. And then we have 30 minutes of question and answer. And it's recorded, so you have 7 days to rewatch it. And every time I start these things, I always say this. Tonight, I'm actually in a hotel room in Lloydminster, which is on Treaty 6 territory. But everything I've created for you tonight happened back on Treaty 7 land, which is now known as the center part of the province of Alberta. It is home and was home to the Blackfoot Confederacy first, which is made up of the Siksika, the Kainai, the Piikani, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, the Stoney Nakoda First Nation, and the Métis Nation Region 3, also now known as divisions. So my honor to sit with you tonight, and I'm going to rip your souls out, and then I'm going to put them bitches back together, okay? So buckle up. Now, a couple things, if you're new here, I sometimes use spicy words, all right? So like super spice, not just like a little bit fucking spicy, but over the top. So if you have children or people that you don't want to hear this and you might get offended by that, you should probably just watch this on mute. See if you can read me lips, okay? Or put your earbuds in, do all those things. And everybody always asks me this, can you not swear? Yes. I do this by design, okay? Mostly because in this virtual world, it's hard to stay very connected to things, which is really, really connected to overthinking right now. We're going to talk about that. And also, you will have multiple opportunities to look away from this tonight, which you take them if you need them, full permission, okay? But many of you are attached to an Apple Watch. This bitch right here. I had to put that on mute my notifications. And you will all have access to email notifications. Your phone may be beside you. You may have a TV in front of you. This is how many of us operate today. So the overstimulation really makes it difficult for us to stay connected when we're going to do something great. And so sometimes I often say that's why I swear. It's not actually. This is, if you met me in 1993 in a gravel pit in Viking, Alberta, it's the same fucking deal. So nothing has really changed. So I like to use the excuse that it's because I keep you connected, but I just don't know how to do it any other way. Okay. So let's jump in to overthinking. Now, I even today prepared a few slides because overthinkers, like myself, tend to be hugely distracted sometimes because we're thinking about 50,000 things. And I just want to start like with this. Okay, so let me show you this little piece of this, and I'm going to start with a visual kind of the brain, okay? Because this is what is really critical to me, and I'm going to just keep it in this mode so I can still see your faces. But I won't because that's really silly. So let's just start here and I'll pop in and out, okay? So I can see your faces. So what I think is so critical about this for me is that I want you to consider this as nothing wrong with you, but it is so much about what is happening from a neurophysiological perspective. I think if we are going to get smart in this next generation, we will stop talking about things like behavior and outcome and what other people are doing or thinking, and really consider what's happening from a neurophysiological perspective, what is happening in our bodies, reconnecting our heads to our bodies. So let's do that before we even start. Drop your shoulders. Many of you, just by drawing attention to that, will notice that there's significant amount of tension up here. Very few of you will come into this unless you just meditated or did some friggin' yoga or drank kale or whatever. Very few of us come into this world just really open and ready because you are carrying the weight of the world. You are responsible for looking after, many of you looking after your own babies, caring for your own parents, holding up a team together, being concerned about whatever might be going on, mental stuff, physical illnesses, financial burdens, divorce, all the things that is happening to the vast majority of us. And we're living in the middle of a loneliness epidemic. Which means even if we think we're relaxed and calm, what happens from a unconscious neurophysiological perspective is this, okay? So before we even start, here's full permission in this community. I always hope that this is the safest place we can land. Drop your shoulders, wiggle your toes, drop your tongue from the roof of your mouth, and let your gut out. You're welcome. Generally speaking, women sign up for this. I see a few penises in the crowd. Shout out to the penis. But I'll tell you what, generally speaking, what happens is it doesn't matter age, race, religion, socioeconomic status, gender identity, sex that you were given at birth. The idea is all of us are carrying so much of this in our bodies. And I want to just remind you of this. The human brain has 100 billion neurons. Each neuron connected to 10,000 other neurons. Sitting on your shoulders is the most complicated object in the known universe. And what we're going to try to get good at in the rest of our lifetimes, I'm going to come back to your faces now. What we're going to try to get good at the rest of our lifetimes is automating some of that. We are in a season where we will watch the AI happen all the time. Okay. And everybody thinks this is so sexy right now. And honestly, it is pretty sexy. The artificial intelligence of the world, we're not designed for it. So what I want to tell you about overthinking, first of all, is that we are in a time where you should be. If you're not overthinking things, you have major superpowers that we're going to tap into, because we are not designed for this much noise. So let's start with the definition. And then there's a list of resources. I see somebody just popped that in the chat. So if you miss anything, you can always go back. There's a list of resources you can print out, you can share them, you can send them to the people if you want. But let me just give you a definition, because I'll head back over here so you can see this. I think this is sort of the critical piece for me when we are thinking about, just how to, what does this mean? Because we have so many ideas. So this is taken right out of the research most recently around how do we define this issue that people are sort of using as a buzzword. And I want you to think about the difference between thinking and overthinking. Thinking isn't the problem. We are designed as humans to think, and I want us to think. I really need us to be better thinkers about so many things. But overthinking is the repetitive, unproductive cycle of thoughts where we are ruminating on problems or mistakes or what if. It's essentially, consider this as mental spinning. Okay. And did I send that email? Did I say the right thing? Oh, fuck. What does she think of me? All of those things that you get stuck at. Generally speaking, there's two components that are slightly different. Okay. Rumination and worry. Rumination is when you get stuck on a thought. So ruminant thinking is like, stop. Have you ever thought about this before? Like you're getting ready for work or you're doing anything during your day and you're like, get out of my head. Stop. I know this is goddamn ridiculous. I don't even know why I'm thinking about this. Like, fuck off. Because logically, for many of these things, like who gives a shit if they thought your text was stupid? Nobody, and my mom has said this to me all the time, nobody thinks more about you than you do. They're thinking about them, but I'm still back in that meeting going like, oh God, why did I say that? Why didn't I say that? You know what I should have said to that bitch is I should have said, when you talk to me that way, and you know what I should have said to my ex-husband? I should have sat him, all of those things are a really great example of the mental spinning. Okay, makes sense to me? Makes sense to you, I mean? And what I think is really fascinating is that it often happens in times when we get quiet. When we have a moment to drive or, I don't know, shower, do our hair in the morning, when we go to bed at night. And guess what we're getting really good at? Blocking that. We will pick up our phone. We will start to play block blast. We will do anything we can to numb, which we've done historically for many generations. And the hard part about that is that it stops the overthinking cycle temporarily, but we do nothing to shift it. And so we'll come back to it again and again and again. So we just need more noise. It's sort of this endless cycle of like, if I don't give it some space, if I keep slamming it with the next game of Block Blast or a sound machine, a CPAP machine, 47 dolphins fucking swimming in the background before you sleep with like, do you know what I mean? Like some people's bedroom setups are amazing to me. They have like a TV, an iPad, a phone, a dolphin assisted fucking sound machine, and a CPAP. Like and the waves. Oh, shh. Like there's nothing relaxing about a tsunami coming through your window when you live in Saskatchewan, okay? Because your body knows there's snow waves that big anywhere near you. Don't try to trick me, bitch. I know, okay? So, what's so critical about this is overthinking is not about too much thinking because I will tell you, I mean, people who are neurodivergent, people who are, your best moments of creativity, your best moments of innovation, and you all have them. The world needs them so much right now. That's not what we want to stifle. I want to get back to thinking about how we change the world, how we be kinder to our kids, how we give ourselves much more benefits of the doubt. Those kind of thoughts are exactly where I want you to spend some time. Overthinking is much more about poorly regulated thinking. Okay, do you see the difference between those two? And if not, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. Okay. So, what I think is really interesting about this process is that I'm going to come out of this again, I think. See, because I'm 50, I can't even see anything here. I'm going to just pop these bitches back on. When we are overthinking, the repetitive mistakes, what ifs, all of those things come into play. Let me stop this so that I can see your face better. Okay. So it comes into play a little bit more. I want to just be really clear about rumination, and I'll give you a little bit of a definition about this because I think sometimes we use this word and we don't really know what it means. It is the rehashing of the past. So when you get stuck, it's much more about what has happened before. So things like regret, shame, anything around I should have. What if I had another shot at that? I would say this. I would say like, and some of us who are a little bit slower processors, my brother used to hate to get in arguments with me because I'm quick. Like if I'm in the moment, usually people who are funny can think like this. And then there's other people who are absolutely friggin' brilliant, but their processing speed is slightly slower. And there's nothing more frustrating than when you get out of somewhere and you're like, oh, this would have been the killer if I would have thought of that in the moment. And then it never goes back to like, you can't call them back later or come into the meeting the next day and be like, you know what I wish I would have fucking said? Yeah. Because it doesn't land anymore. They're like, what are you even talking about right now? You're like, that would have been so good in the moment. I'll tell you for 5 cents. Rumination often lands there. The should haves, the what I didn't do is, okay? And the worry, I like to think about that as more about rehearsing the future. Okay. So rumination, you're kind of looking back, worry, you're sort of going forward. Like much more about the what if, the future. If I don't do this, what if I die? What if I get the dementia? What if my kids get the dementia? What's going to happen when my parents die? What am I going to do if we get a divorce? And what if nobody, 57,000 of those things we can all give examples of. Now, both of those things suck. Both of those things are maladaptive forms of thinking, but they happen to all of us. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with this. Most of what I want you to do is know that once we start to acknowledge it, it starts to take away the power. And when you have a name for it, and I've often talked about this, I think Dan Siegel came up with this, when you name it, you tame it. So when you're thinking about now, when you notice yourself in this loop of sort of getting ahead of yourself, overthinking all of those things, there's nothing bad about that. I want you to just notice it. And then I also want you to notice where your shoulders are when you're stuck in rumination or when you're stuck in worry, because the body keeps the score. None of those things typically have any or very little data to support them. We are so good at the assumption game. You know what? You know why she didn't text me back? Because she's thinking this and this and this. You know why? You know why? He's not gonna phone me back again. He's ghosting me. That's what he's doing. He's ghosting me. He's a ghoster. Because you read about the kids are talking about ghosting. Any of you still trying to date right now? Fuck. Hardest. I'm only keeping Aaron around because I don't want to date ever again. I mean, he's all right, but I am not jumping back into that game. I would go insane trying to wonder about, oh my God, they read it. I can see the dots. What is happening with the dots? What's going on with the dots? I'd be like, I just got to call you. What are you doing? I think that's called a stalker. You know what I mean? I'd have a hard time. Here's what I love. Okay, so hoax must work. Overthinking is strongly linked to anxiety. Shocking. Overthinking is strongly. I can see your faces like, don't make eye contact with me right now. What do you mean, anxiety? But here's the problem with anxiety. You understand? Is that it is setting off alarm bells in your body that says we are in significant amounts of danger right now. We are never going to be able to have another date again. All of my friends think I'm an idiot. I'm going to get fired. All of those things. None of that data is based in reality. It might be loosely connected, which is the greatest fuel for anxiety. What if it's this one time? What if it's me? What if I am right? And we'll talk about this by the end of today, but the greatest superpower we have in that space is what if. And so much of this happens connected to anxiety, depression, and stress. This isn't surprising to me. Okay. When all of those things ramp up in our body, anxiety, depression, and stress, where's your shoulders? Up. When you're thinking those things, you understand? What that does from a neurophysiological perspective is it starts to pop off your prefrontal cortex. Okay. When I get your shoulders down, what I have access to is the best parts of you. Okay. So do this again with me. I want you to practice this in real time. When your shoulders are down and your toes are wiggled, you are the most incredible human on the planet. You have access to the best parts of you. You are the best mama. You are the best dad. You are the best leader. When I am filled up and my shoulders are down, my husband is the luckiest goddamn human on the planet because I am a phenomenal partner. I am a remarkable mother. I only know those things when my lid is on, when I am regulated. Okay. When I get dysregulated, I don't lose my ability to be those things. I lose access to it. Two very different things. You understand me? Two very different things. We lose access to the best parts of us. I am concerned about burnout and anxiety and depression, all those things. I have never met a group. I have never been more excited to be alive. I have never been more excited to be alive. There's no better time to build a business. There's no better time to parent, to be involved in your community. You want to know why? Because the bar is so fucking low right now. You actually don't even have to be great. You have to remember that most people have lost access to the best parts of themselves. And when you remember that and bring yourself back home, and you start handing out things like kindness and compliments and waving at your neighbors, people want to make out with you. Huh? Easy. Just kidding. It's not that easy, but I'll tell you what that's about. I also I think there's this thing called like the background chatter system of the brain that I always find quite interesting. And you've seen me do this before, right? Like the lid flip is if you tuck your thumb on the inside of your hand, that's the most primitive part of your brain. That's where your amygdala is at the base of that. All the alarm systems go in the middle of your brain. What separates humans from most other mammals is the prefrontal cortex that wraps around that brain. It sort of protects it. And when we're calm, everything we know to be true is living on top of that. We have access to it. It lives right above your balls, okay? Your eyeballs. And when you're calm, you like that, Annette? You say the word balls, people lose their mind. Now you won't forget it, okay? Best part of you lives right above your balls. And all the men are like, mm-hmm. No, it's not. Just so we're clear, the future's female. But anyway, the idea is when our prefrontal cortex is on, our lid is on, which means I have access to everything I know to be true, every language I ever spoke, every instrument I've ever played, my golf swing, my slap shot, everything I've ever learned in my life, including kindness, empathy, the benefit of the doubt. When this lid is on, that's who I am. When you look at your babies and they're regulated, they're using their words, they're being kind, that's them with their lids on. That's who you're raising. Okay, we rarely judge our kids in this space. Okay. When you are proud of your team at work, when you are sort of sitting around a meeting and going like, we got this. Yeah, everybody's sort of chiming in, giving the benefit of the doubt, making people really feel seen in that moment. That's who your team is. Okay, that's when their lids are on. And if you have ever, I usually say this, if you've ever went on a second date in your life, you went on that second date because your prospective partner's lid was on. Okay, have you ever heard this? He's flipped his lid. She's lost her friggin' mind. Yeah, that's the definition of emotional dysregulation. And where overthinking lives is in emotional dysregulation. Our lids start to flip. We don't lose the greatness that makes you the most incredible human, why so many people love you and depend on you. We lose access to it. And what I think is really interesting is in this chatter system here, some of us who tend to be a little bit more anxious, who tend to be a little bit more intelligent, smart people, it sucks, or think more often. So you guys are all very smart. That's the issue. I always wish I was dumber. Ignorance is bliss, they say. You know what I mean? I think that's so true. Anyway, the idea is we have never been, and I'm going to show you the reasons why. And this, you'll all go, yes, I get it, because you're aware of this. We are just now only connecting the dots about why this might be a bit of an issue in this moment. Okay. So let me just show you this real quick when I share this again for you. Here's some of the reasons why we are in this place right now of overthinking so much more. Okay. This shouldn't surprise you. We are in the age of noise. I want you to think about this. Okay, I'm going to take you off of this. I'll come right back here because I want to see your face again. The idea is that, so many of you know this, I buried my dad 147 days ago, okay? And I loved his ability to build people and to build businesses and to have conversations with him when I could get the best parts of his brain. The way he thought about how to put people and things together, where sometimes I really had to pull it out of him, okay? Because some of it just happened so naturally for him. And here's what I'm amazed at. He would come home from work and nobody could get him. Can you imagine that? He would come home, he would get up in the morning and nobody could get him till he went into the office. Now, you and I, this one generation, okay? Introduction to the smartphone, 2006. Introduction to the forward-facing camera, 2009. We are new here. Our bodies are not. Do you know that all of us on this call, I'm going to guess, grew up with a day of rest built into our systems? Sundays or Saturdays, often depending on your spiritual affiliation, was considered a day of rest, and the stores respected that. You couldn't even go grocery shopping. Like in my lifetime, when I did my residency in Nova Scotia, I had to plan for Saturdays because they were the last province, I think, on the planet to open stores on Sundays. And people are pissed off. But like, we need that because we're not that good. Somebody has to put limits on us. Otherwise, we are way too open to sort of always doing these things. We're one generation out of that. Now, think about what happens. How many of us, show me in your little emojis if you know how to run them, charge your phone by your bed? And the rest of you are lying, all right? Except, yeah, look at people are like, I don't. I'm like, well, good for you. God bless your soul. Because the rest of us, many of us do this not because we're bad humans, but because we're so connected to the people we love and the things that we need. What if somebody needs us? What if our kids need us? What if our ex-husband loses their goddamn mind again? What if our moms are getting sick? What if, like, and also in our jobs, we're very important people. You're trying to do the work-life balance. What if the people need you? And so before you even pee, you're checking that thing. Do you understand? Before you don't even peed. And you're just popping in there to check your email just in case somebody. Here's a tip for free. There's nothing in there that's going to lower your cortisol. Nobody's going to send you an email and say, you know what, Jenny? I just wanted to remind you that you're a gift to humanity. No. Some bitch is complaining. Somebody's not coming into work. There is a complaint against you, likely. And then you signed up for Spanx. Them email reminders that you're fat. Okay? So there's nothing in there that's lowering your, you haven't even peed. Okay? What are you doing to the 100 billion neurons that are sitting on top of your shoulders? Nothing good. And then just to relax, what you're going to do is jump into your socials. Because you're going to just maybe check the news cycle. You're just going to check on your people just to sort of like, stay connected because you heard you should be connected to people. Now, if you're old, you start into Facebook. You know who you are. If you're medium, you go, Rachel, me, thank you. If you're medium, you go to the Instagram. Okay. So if you want to get a little younger, start an Instagram. Okay. Now, if you're super hip, you're going to go to the talk, straight to the TikTok. Okay. I don't even know how to run that thing. I refuse, but they say I need to be on it because it's super important. Nothing in there is going to lower your cortisol. Okay. You're checking people in this constant comparative, going like, that bitch is working out. What is functional strength training anyways? Like, son of a bitch. And like, and then you're like, we need collagen. That's what we need. God, this is how I tell this story quite often. This is how I woke Aaron up not very long ago. My personal husband, my current husband, Aaron. I say to him, hey, we need family pictures in a bush, wearing creams. And then I start to say to him, like, do we even love each other as a family? I don't think we do. Look at these bitches. They have their Christmas card planned already. You know what we're gonna need? We're gonna need to do a picture with just me and the children because actually in this moment, I don't think you're making a Christmas card. Huh? That's how I start my day normally. It's a wonder I'm still married. I haven't even got out of bed yet. Do you understand? And we're like, what's wrong with us? We're overthinking. Oh my God, we're not designed. And then we get up and pee and we strap on one of these bitches. You ever seen them? This is called an Apple Watch, okay? Which should be called a cortisol shooter. Because you know who's connected here? Everybody. My children have instant access to me. My current husband has instant access to me. My fucking father-in-law has instant access to me, who I really love, Don. And everybody, hey, anybody have kids in sports or grandkids in sports? Yeah. You want to know who's on here, Adam? Team Snap bitches. Right here. They could get you anywhere, anytime. So Team Snap is an application designed for us parents and grandparents who have kids in sports. It's intended to keep the parents connected. So you know when the practices are. It also has a chat function, which many crazy people, and there's at least one on every team, use as their personal therapy place, okay? To talk about refs or inappropriate A, AAA, AA, C tiering experiences, that minor hockey is the death of people, that their kid should have made the A, like, shut up, Julie, and then they come up with things like this 30 minutes before a practice. Could everybody please bring a white t-shirt because we're going to do a tie-dye t-shirt team building bullshit. Do you have a job? Okay, so then my kid's the only one who doesn't show up in a t-shirt and people are like, yep, that's because she works too much. She doesn't care about her children. You're fucking right. I don't. I much prefer to work. Okay, so you can take them. All right. Anyway, just kidding. The idea is all of this is happening in our bodies and we haven't even came out of our bedroom. And then we have to step into our kitchens. Guess who's waiting there? Your personal children and your husband, wife, and your people. And they're asking questions like this: what's for breakfast? Oh, and then you start thinking, this is the dumb one. I shouldn't have married their father. Like, and so this is what's happening in your system. And then you're going to go to work where you serve other people who also have started, or in your volunteer organization, or whatever that looks like in your day, who've also, many of whom have started their day like this. And so we wonder why we're tired and overwhelmed and exhausted in this age of noise. We're losing access to the best parts of ourselves so quickly. And we spend a lot of time then trying to be better and do better. So we've got podcasts in one ear and we sit in front of our computers where the average person gets 147 emails a day. So even if you're doing a human services profession where you're not sitting in front of a computer all day long, many of us sort of touch base in our iPads or back to our computers and we're getting notifications. So many of you won't have your notifications turned off. I had to remember to do that today because it is so sexy to watch what is happening when you get an email from somebody, which is going to be better than me. Or I had to shut this off because I mean, I often, if one of my babies text me tonight, because I'm not home with them, and I get something from Olivia like, Mom, call me right now, I'm not okay. What happens to my capacities to stay connected to you? Right? I'm not that good. I mean, it's such an honor to sit in front of you tonight. This is like, I could not wait for this all week, but I'm not that good. And so we've never had so much access to people. And although this illusion of choice is lovely, we haven't evolved very quickly in this human race to be able to navigate all these things. So when we think about the age of noise, this constant stimulation, we've sort of became intolerant, if you will, to silence and discomfort. I want you to watch what happens. And this is part of like the solutions we'll jump into right away. But when you drive in silence, what happens when you sit on your back deck with a cup of coffee? Watch how quickly you're reaching for a phone. Watch how quickly or how difficult it is to just be in your body. We are not good at this. And it hasn't taken very long to switch this. Okay. Now, I often consider the data around the lack of stillness and presence available for our brains these days. It's so limited that I have considered the discipline of connection to be the answer in the next book. So the next book that I'm pitching right now is called You're Not That Good. And it's not a criticism of liberation for those of us who are brilliant and broken and bone tired. Because we weren't designed for this. There's nothing wrong with us. We just weren't designed for this much noise. And so what's really crazy to me is it's going to have to be the discipline of connection, because I saw this stat yesterday. I said this in a talk I did, and it blew my mind. 74% of all restaurant orders that were placed last year were not eaten in the restaurant. 74%. So we're at home on devices, eating, cannot sort of take ourselves out of our homes to interact with people in our community, to watch, our best friend's kid serving at Moxie's or, at the local restaurant or whatever, she's going to mess up. You're going to give her a big tip. Like all of those things. Instantly, we get our grocery orders, Instacart, Amazon, whatever those things are. It is a rite of passage to be at the grocery store, I think. I mean, and your kid has to melt down and throw punch somebody. You should drive your child out of the Walmart by their ponytail, like one time. Like that's just a thing. I feel like that's normal. And so it's so interesting as we're rewriting these rules, because I also don't want to vilify the next generation of what this looks like in terms of connection and instability. But I really want us to think about the discipline of connection, because we are wired for it. What we won't automate is relationship. No matter how good we get at getting the stuff in our house quicker and avoiding the things, so many times people just say to me, I just want to live in a bush where nobody could get me. It's not people that we want to get away from. It is the overstimulation and expectations of a body that we're just not designed to stay in for that long. Make sense? Now, yes, you can get away for a week. Like, friggin' don't touch me, don't talk to me. I don't really want to see your little life-sucking Caillou face for at least 7 days. I think that's what you need. But it also then, what I think is really interesting is it leads to this idea of the decision fatigue. So second, as you'll see in your notes, the Barry Schwartz came up with the paradox of choice. And I really find this fascinating. More options create paralysis. I don't like that word in the ability space. So I really want to, more options create, we just get stuck. We think that so many opportunities are great, but listen, let me take this back to dating. When you lived in Bruce, Alberta, Canada, and you had the options to date the Denisik boy up the road or the Lawton boy back over here. You had two, they were up against each other. You know what I mean? You just had to look at two of them. Now, when you get on a Tinder, I don't know about this, I just heard about it. You have access to hundreds of thousands of people. And so why would you settle for one? There might be the next one. It's better. It's better. It's better. It's better. Nobody stands a chance. You understand? It is estimated by 2030, 45% of all women between the ages of 33 and 45 will be single and child-free. Mostly because it's very difficult. This illusion of choice is exhausting. So Barry talks about choice overload that I thought I'd throw out for a minute. So too many options create decision sort of instability. So people delay making decisions or avoid them altogether. This Marty is so much better at this than me. When I have to book a hotel or any vacation I've ever planned, and there's like 87 VRBO options, I can't pick one. What if I get it wrong? What if that's not the right one? What if everybody's not going to like this one? Look at, I almost decided on this one, and there's 3 other ones here that get better ratings. How do we, oh God, it takes me, like, do you want to know how much wasted time? Marty just pulls the trigger and she says, whatever, this will be fine. We'll be good. Okay, so some people are better at this than others, but oftentimes when we get into this place, Schwartz talks about maximizers versus satisfices. Maximizers seek the best possible option, comparing endlessly. That's me, which leads to regret and second guessing. And satisfiers settle for good enough, which tends to make them happier and less anxious. Huh, I want to be that guy who could just be like, yeah, good, this will do, let her buck. I pull a trigger and then I'm like, oh, what if this 57 options were better? You know what I mean? So it's a thing. And then opportunity cost and regret. So more options increases the chances that we'll feel we made the wrong choice, leading to post-decision regret. So we have a lot of people, particularly in the relationship phase, and I don't know why I keep coming back to this sort of dating relationship market, but we keep going over this, as particularly in marriages, where we're like, look at Linda's husband. Why can't you be more like Linda's husband? He's so nice, he cooks. I'll tell you what, Linda's husband also has allergies, okay? And what you don't hear is Linda's husband blowing his nose like that, just like your husband does. I'm telling you, they all do. You can't. Okay, looks good on the surface. You dig deep in any one of them, there's something there. It's not going to work out. But the idea is when you have the paradox of choice, the illusion that there's many options here, what we tend to do is only see the surface. Okay, and we are getting very, very good at a breadth of relationship and not fighting through the depth of relationship. That's where the work is. You understand? Being able to slow down the thoughts and the what ifs and the who else is out there to being able to sort of slow it down a little bit. Okay. And it all comes back to your neurophysiology, I promise you. The other thing that I think we're up against in the world of decision fatigue is this idea of escalating expectations. So when we have many options, we expect perfection. We better get it right. And if you just have the Denisics and the Lawtons to choose from, I mean, like you can basically see you're only going to get one right. Like in this fella, I mean, it's kind of a clear choice. If you only have 2 hotels to choose from, even though they both have sort of their lovely amenities, for your family system at this point, this one has a pool, the other one doesn't. Doesn't even matter if it has rats. Your children need a pool, okay? You'll bring traps. You'll lock the food up at night. You know what I mean? Like whatever. But the more opportunities you have, you see, it sort of gets us into this place of slowing down, which is what we're all about this moment. How many opportunities do we have to be doing the right thing here? So when we escalate expectations, things happen. So even good choices feel disappointing if they fall short of imagined alternatives. if I would have just picked this one. So you're in this fairly reasonable. I mean, you settle on the Denisik fella. He's pretty good. I mean, the fella can't cook, but I'll tell you what. I mean, he's not gambling and he doesn't do cocaine. And but you're like, oh, but that guy, that one can cook too. You know? I think about this often with Aaron because Aaron can't even change a light bulb. Like I came from a dad who like could fix anything with his eyes closed, and that's like what I thought I would marry. My personal husband and I together cannot fix anything. Two of us can't cook. I mean, Costco is our friend. Oh, I got HelloFresh. I'm a 50-year-old woman. I get HelloFresh just so it tells me how to cook something. You understand? I was hoping I'd marry somebody a little more astute to that. So it becomes very easy to be like, oh, you don't got this, you don't got this. This one has this one has this. What is happening in the neurophysiology when we're in that what if? What about this other opportunity? So, adaptation. Humans quickly adapt to improvement. So, even a better choice doesn't sustain happiness for long. I really love thinking about, how much is good enough. Okay. And again, like in this space, I want you to be very clear about online dating, career choices, parenting strategies. Everything feels like there's a right choice, fueling the second guessing. And there's always seems to be another option. And I think I want you to bring this, I want to bring this back right now to young moms. So, one of the loneliest groups on the planet right now are young moms, young parents, because there's so many opportunities for information that we're not designed for. So we got our first son in 2009. So smartphones had just started to come out. Okay. I generally had, when I was breastfeeding in the middle of the night or panicking because he's got hydrocephalus for the 18th time, or I'm fairly sure he's like, I think we missed some genetic disorder. Uh, I couldn't get him to sleep. I only had one major opinion that could derail me. Do you want to know who that was? My mother-in-law. Okay. So I would say to her, who, by the way, raised three boys on the farm. You didn't mess with this bitch. Okay. She had it together. I am quite, like, there's not a question in my mind. She was picking apples while she gave birth to my husband because she had to make a pie to take to the field. Okay. Now remember, I cannot cook and I actually don't even like my children. So you can imagine the disconnect that would happen. Okay. And so I would say to her, Lori, like, he's not sleeping. I don't know what's happening. Like, what am I doing wrong? And she'd be like, oh, Jody, relax. Just put a little booze in his bottle. He'll sleep. And now that was one opinion. Okay. So I could say to her, you know what, Laura, I think things have changed a little bit. When I would get regulated, I think we're in a bit of a different time. Now, can you imagine being a young mom? And many of you like love people who are in the middle of the night when you're at your most vulnerable, most sleep deprived and exhausted. You have access to how many opinions? 48 million. Saying things like this. Your baby's not sleeping. Did you have a dolphin assisted pool birth? Oh, you didn't. Okay, well, he's going to have the ADHD. Complete this checklist. And obviously, I mean, the train has left the station. You have already screwed him up. Right? So then you want to overthink at 2:30 in the morning. You're looking at your baby, you're apologizing to the 4-month-old. I didn't mean it. I didn't know we needed a dolphin. Grayson, I didn't know I needed lavender essential oil. And you got that opinion from Teresa, who read about something, what to expect when you're inspecting, and made a post about it. No authority on the planet other than she's dressed in cream and her belly is bounced back. So she took a nice fucking post-maternity photo. So she obviously knows what she's doing. She don't. Way too much access to opinions that can completely derail these beautiful souls who we are trying to raise our babies and stay connected to the people we love and serve people in our communities. And so I think it's so much about, so, what that leads to, and you'll see this in your notes, is this idea of comparison culture. And there's a healthy form of comparison that I don't ever want to sort of take away from. I mean, it keeps us on track. It allows us to notice, what is happening in the world, and we can put ourselves up against it all the time. But social media highlights the very curated lives. Like you're only getting the highlight reel. And I do this too. I mean, like filters, all the times, all the things, people are like, how do you do it all? I don't. There's not a chance. I got an amazing mom. We had an amazing mother-in-law. I have a nanny since the babies were born. I have a Marty. And most of the time, I mean, I say this all the time. I wrote a best-selling book called Kids These Days. That every time I read that thing, I think, son of a bitch, this is good. I don't know why this is not a New York Times bestseller. If you watch me with my own personal children, you wouldn't buy the book. I wrote that thing when I was regulated. Okay. You all could write a parenting book, a grandparenting book when you're regulated. You know this. You're amazing humans. Huh? You want to write a book about the work that you do? I would love to consult you about your insight and your brilliance when you're regulated. And most of us are not losing our ability to be great. We've lost access to it. So what I think is really interesting is also you probably maybe have heard these terms before. FOMO, fear of missing out, and the fear of messing up. Apparently that's another word, a terminology like 6-7 that I do not understand. But FOMO and FOMO. You're welcome. You heard it here first. You guys can put it on a t-shirt. Yes. 6-7, ladies and gentlemen, is a term that children use that I still don't know what it means. So when you say 6-7, 6-7, you're also supposed to do this with your hands that I thought meant holding boobs or balls. It does not. 6-7 refers to the height of a basketball player, apparently. And every kid, if you have a teenager, will respond to you with 6-7. 6-7. You can ask anything. What do you want for supper? 6-7. How are you feeling today? 6-7. Like I don't, it's just a term that you say everywhere. Okay. Honestly, what did we say? Did we say anything fun? Rad. Same. Totally I was just gonna say totally tubular. Oh my God, Marty.
That's old.
That's old, she said. That's old. That's old. I'm sure there's something. Groovy. Groovy. Huh? That's anyway. Now you know, 6-7, FOMO, all the things they're saying. But it is true, fear of missing out, fear of messing up, both drive us to become obsessive in this way of thinking about what if, what did we do, what did we say, what did we, okay? Again, when we get into that place, what's happening to our neurophysiology is what I'm most interested in. Now, the impact around this is, I think, quite interesting. So associated with, I mean, we just talked about this already, but anxiety, depression, insomnia, even cardiovascular strain, because what we're doing is assuming that we are at a risk. This is very much how anxiety works, is that we feel like we're stuck at the scene. We're stuck in that meeting. We're stuck in that conversation with our ex. We're stuck like physically there, which means if I were to actually, take your heart rate, if I were to look at your vascular system, I would suggest, it would seem to me that you're right there in that season, not laying in your bed where you are completely safe, not outside of the meeting or whatever that is like. Okay. So our body keeps the score when we start to spin a lot as well. And I think, the data is really interesting. So overthinking others' words and actions fuels miscommunication and disconnection when you start to sort of make assumptions that that's why you didn't text me back or you didn't call me back, with very little data to sort of support that. And in work, this probably won't surprise you. It's linked to burnout and impaired creativity. And this is the cost that I don't think we talk a lot about, particularly in our organizations, because I lose access to innovation, to creativity, to productivity when I get stuck in that cycle because I'm losing access to the best parts of you. You can't solve a problem more effectively to be like, you know what I think? I think we should do this with the kids. I've got this new idea. And so I'm writing this next book proposal. So I've written another chapter and all the things. I feel we come from a generation, many of us, that if you rest If you give yourself any opportunity for stillness, you are lazy. Our dads taught us that, didn't they? Get up! Why are you on the couch? Move it. Now, let me just remind you, they're not wrong. What happened one generation ago is you had 8, maybe 9 hours of daylight to get shit done. So you shouldn't be napping in the middle of the day. Go. We only have this much time. We now live in one generation in a place where we don't get a break. We are working before we even get out of bed. Our customers, our clients, our children have access to us all evening long. And we try to set limits, work-life balance. We try to say we're not checking our emails past 4. We try. It doesn't mean our thoughts, our wonderings are not coming. And when we don't give place for rest, I had a deadline on this book proposal. Do you know what I needed to do more to get it done this week? Nap. Go for walks by myself and let me just think. No podcast, no music, no friends, just me and the clouds and the sound of my feet, which is really related to trauma work. When you go dun, 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 dun. The tick-tock of your feet allow the integration of both sides of your brain. And so when we spend time in the still, it is where the rejuvenation happens. And so you'll see in some of the things we're going to get to here in the next 10 minutes, so much of this will come down to the discipline of connection. And one note on intelligence. So high IQ is linked to higher worry, anxiety, rumination. Not always, but some studies have find a correlation between higher cognitive ability and higher levels of worry, anxiety, and mood disorders, which doesn't surprise me sometimes because I think the more creative, the more opportunities you have to think about things, the more fantastic you can get with these thoughts. Like, okay, not only just like, what if I die? Like, what if I die by way of a train, and then there's a lightning bolt, and then also it's going to be because I was texting, and then some other asshole was also texting. So there's going to be like a brutal thing, and then like people are going to find my phone because they're going to ping it, and then everybody's going to be like, do you understand? It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so really pay attention to this idea of it all comes back to the same thing. So although the evidence isn't remarkably robust, intelligent people often have better memory, more capacity to see multiple paths or possibilities, and deeper reflectivity. This is also true of people with ADHD, although I think it's significantly over discussed at these moments. That's a whole other session. So these traits can lead to both more sophisticated thinking and more risk of getting stuck in thinking loops. So how it shows up. I want to just show you this real quick. So this is how it shows up. And I know that you will have these in we talked about this comparison culture. This is, how it'll show up. So cognitive signs. So racing thoughts, difficulty making decisions, second guessing everything. Okay. The emotional signs we haven't talked a lot about: guilt, regret, worry, fear, indecisiveness. When we name those things, I just want you to be aware of them and when they show up in their body. You don't have to do anything about them, but just notice when the worry and the guilt and the regret come up. Know that sometimes when that becomes excessive, it might be connected to this idea. The body always keeps the score, which I never think we talk enough about. Headaches, insomnia, jaw, fatigue. If you truly believe you have fucked up, if you truly believe that you are under stress and that your partner is going to leave you, or that something is going to happen and they're never going to call you for the second date, or that you're going to get fired tomorrow, you will physically prepare for that. Which means your body is like, it's in danger, you're in danger. Okay, be ready to fight. Even subconsciously, things are locked, shoulders are up, breathing is more shallow, because you're telling your body in your head that you're in danger. And the data, although we can find strings to support it, largely is not true. And when we reverse engineer that, remind the body that in this moment, we are safe. You start to reverse engineer that and decrease the significant neurological firing, okay? The other thing you could imagine when you really think that you've screwed up or something bad's going to happen, procrastination takes over. Why would you get to the end of that project if you think it's going to be terrible? If you're going to get full feedback. Okay, so procrastination is very different than taking that stillness, be very clear. But it also leads to things like avoidance and reassurance seeking, perfectionism. You can imagine, right? I want to make sure I get it right. I get it right. I get it right. Okay, so all very common in this space. Now, what I want you to think about a little bit around overthinking is as we switch into this sort of like what we do about it. I want you to think this is so interesting to me because when we connect it to the brain, there's some powerful questions that we can really start to ask. Can I see the situation in a different way? Is there any possible other outcome? Any reason, anything other than what I'm thinking right now? They didn't call back. For what reason? They didn't invite me out for what reason? Obviously, because they hate me and they think I'm annoying. Or they're overwhelmed. Their mom has cancer. They're going through a divorce. When you switch that question, what's really interesting to me is your body responds differently. And I often say this in the teacher space, when you call a kid attention seeking, when you change that to connection seeking, just watch what happens in your body. When you say that kid is so attention seeking, just trying to get everything from us, he's a attention seeking, manipulative liar. When I say this baby's connection seeking. He's so desperate to know that you can make his world safe. What happens in our body? Nothing has changed. That behavior has not changed. That baby is exactly the same. When I say that about your partner, okay? When I say, Aaron can't get anything right. He yells at the kids all the time. He has no goddamn idea how to parent. He's so lucky he has a relationship. The only reason he has a relationship with his kids is because I'm around. When I say those things, or I say, this is a dad doing the best he can with what he got. He is so much better than our dads ever did. He shows up the best of his ability and he gets so frustrated because he doesn't want to get it wrong with his babies. When I think about my husband in that way, what happens in me is not a change in a behavior, but an evocation inside me that slows down the thinking and evokes empathy. That's your superpower. That's where we get to be more present. And what I love about this overthinking, is, how would a friend think about this? What would they say? What would a friend say if I gave them this thought? Am I being harder on myself than I would be on anybody else? Such a good question, right? When we're going to kick overthinking in the butt. Am I trying too much or too little am I carrying too much or too little responsibility for this? Am I that good? Can I undo multiple generations of abuse, neglect, and trauma in one kid? No. Am I good enough to undo systemic racism single-handedly? No. Am I good enough to change the federal government's policies on supporting teachers? You're not that good. Your job in this moment is next best right kind thing. That's all. Because you're not that good. Not a criticism, a liberation. What is the most likely outcome if my worry comes true? This is a scary thing because oftentimes people who get really overwhelmed can go down this path for hours. And I'm not a fan, but I often want to examine the evidence, right? Where's the proof? And are there any other ways to deal with what I got on my plate? Okay. So those are just some of the ideas. And if I were to unpack those, in sort of a list of things, which I have for you in your resources, I want you to notice the loop. That's one of the things. Am I problem solving or am I just spinning? Just notice it. You keep spinning if you want. Full permission. You go ahead, babe. You spin and spin. I want you just to notice. Are you worrying? Are you in this state of being stuck? And if you are, cool. You let yourself be there. You say to yourself, look at me spin. I'm going to keep spinning. I kind of feel comfortable here. And the second you can notice that, freedom. Because now you're like, okay, I got a couple of choices here. All right. So notice the loop. You can even name it. Remember, name it to tame it. I'm stuck in a worry loop. I'm spinning out of control. I'm going to give myself 5 more minutes to think about every possible bad thing. And then I'm going to jump off this train for a while. I can always come back to it if I want, but I want to physically, and I've even had people physically step off it. Stand up, step off it. Give yourself a break. You can come back to that anytime you want. But right now, we're going to give you a break because she deserves it. He deserves it. They deserve it. Okay. Maybe my most important thing we're going to talk about tonight is how we started today, and that's anchoring the body. This is deep wisdom that comes way before our Western ideals ever took over. And it goes back to sort of Eastern philosophical practice. Buddha, said this brilliant, be where your feet are. Come back into the present moment, which is how we started today, right? As much as you drop your shoulders, wiggle your toes, drop your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Now, me and speech pathologists have many goes around this. The conversation is your tongue is best if it's cupped to the roof of your mouth. Yes, in the speech world and in regulating the vagal nerve, yes. But what I want you to consider is oftentimes our tongue isn't cupped to the roof of our mouth, it is fucking glued. So I want you to just notice how locked the jaw is, because what you're doing from a historical perspective is preparing yourself for hand-to-hand combat. You're preparing for the bad guys to come over the hills. And our body keeps the score. Like there's hundreds of generations of ancestors living in our bodies. And so when we get back to this very primitive, overwhelming state, we go back to what we know to be true.
What'd you say?
And as I give you this permission, Jenny, you're going to yawn. Because this is the first time in history, not history, but for a long time that you've given your body permission to feel safe. And we get tired. Because when we go to bed, we're not giving ourselves permission to feel safe. We're replaying everything that ever happened. When we come into the sanctity of our houses, all we see is the mess and the stupid decisions that we made in having children or getting married or not moving out of this house or doing all those things, right? We don't see it as a sanctuary, or we don't have places there where we can let our guard down, because we carry into our homes our work. We carry into our homes our phones, our watches, our iPads, because there's very few places where we feel, and that's why people say, I want to go live in the bush. You want to know why they say that? Simply because there's no Wi-Fi connection. People can't get them. And do you know you could shut your phone off? Do you know that? Do you know you could not strap this watch on? Did you know that? Shocking. Isn't that something? You can physically, next time you go for dinner with somebody, leave your phone in your car. If something's going to happen to your children, if something's going to happen to your best friends, you'll find out about it. Do you know my favorite part in a place has been for a very long time? On a plane. Because nobody can get me. I'm on 200 flights a year. That's why I think I'm so fucking healthy. I'm not actually. Don't ask Marty or my husband. But it is my favorite place because I rarely sign on to the Wi-Fi unless we have a major deadline coming up, but nobody can get me. And we are not that good because, and I often say this, Amazon, Uber, Meta, and Apple. If I were to just take the big four, those big four in this moment own an $8.49 trillion market share capitalization. There is not a lot of concern for the emotional or mental health of the people they're serving because the financial payoff is so fantastic. It is so sexy. It is designed specifically to keep us there. I often say this about Aaron's phone. I don't scroll along if I happen to take his phone, because what he has curated on his social feed is bull sales. You know what I mean? What are the structure of a good heifer? What does a good pen of chickens look like? You know what I mean? What is a nutritional supplement for a dairy cow? I could give a shit. You understand? And when he jumps onto my phone, he's not staying there long. You want to know what he gets? Women are going to change the world. That's what he sees. Very top. Then he sees perimenopausal nutrition. Huh? Turns out he's not a huge fan. So we won't stay long. But when it's designed specifically for us, we really are interested in it. It becomes very difficult to disconnect. Okay. So the other thing, again, this idea, Jonathan Huberman talks a lot about this on his podcast, but the physiological sigh, 2 inhales, 1 long exhale, calms the nervous system. So, we've talked lots about breath work, particularly in the yogi space or in any therapeutic practice. And we do that for a reason because you can't take a deep breath with a flip lid, neurobiologically impossible. And so, what we want is to sort of counteract that by going, if you ever see a kid come out of a meltdown and they do this, you know their lid is coming back on. Okay. And you often can't, when somebody's in a meltdown, tell them to take a deep breath. Have you ever seen anybody in a bar fight and you got up in their face and you were like, take a deep breath? They're like, fuck you. Okay. So sometimes you can't tell people to do that. You got to lead them there. You got to show them how to do that. Look at me. Okay. 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 Give me your hands. Give me your hands. Give me your hands. Come on, baby. Have a drink of water. We have to indicate to the neurophysiological system that it's safe. And when we get good at it, we can do that for ourselves. But just like any other skill, it takes practice. And the second we jump off this call, you're going to be, I got to check the phone. I got to make sure the kids are okay. I got to, there'll be an email. I got to prep for tomorrow. I do a talk tomorrow morning at 7:30. The weight of the world continues, but it is more like a balance, a check and balance that I want you to consider. How much are you refueling this system in this very noisy world? There's also some notes, I think, in your package around externalizing it, um, journaling, putting it somewhere that gets you out of that cycle. Limit the inputs. I mean, my God, this is back to the discipline of connection. I promise you, I make it a rule, and I don't do this all the time, but at least 3 nights a week, I charge my phone outside my bedroom. And you don't do all or nothing, okay? Because people are like, that's it. I am off social media, which I mean, if you want to do this, you can. I'm cutting every social media off. I'm never getting online again. I'm going to throw my computer away. I'm never talking on a phone again. We're moving to the bush and getting divorced. I mean, you might be there and that's okay too. But the idea is I want you to think about just really little interventions and watch what happens. Drive home from work with no noise once a week. Wave at your neighbors. Be very conscious about giving it away to people. Charge your phone outside your bed 3 times a week, 4 times a week. Watch what happens when you wake up in the middle of the night and you don't have that phone easily accessible. You roll over and go back to bed. If my phone is right there and I start thinking about something, I'm like, oh, I wonder if she liked my picture. I'm going to just check on that real quick. And then 20,000 minutes later, I've reposted 4 fucking things on don't let bitches push you around. How we reconnect in a disconnect. Like, what are we doing? Build connection. I know we're running out of time. Rehearse compassion, and action over analysis. And so the rule of thumb, if you've thought about it for more than 5 minutes and no solution has come, step out. You can always go back to it, take one small action, write it down, do something different, do your very best to break that cycle because it is in your head, not in your heart. And when you reconnect those two things, magic happens. I have connected for you in the resources that I think I put in the chat, but we'll also email it out to you tomorrow. Some books that I'm really loving right now. Paradox of Choice, that Barry Schwartz guy that I was talking about. Rethinking Positive Thinking is an Ottingen book that I think is really great. There's a couple of podcast episodes. Diary of a CEO. Stephen is one of my favorite guys right now. And he sometimes just actually takes 20-minute snippets of some of his very long episodes to give you the most re-listen to moments that can sometimes just ground you. And yeah, some of the other things I sort of put it in there for you. So overthinking is not about weakness. It's about too much brilliance without boundaries. I think that's the thing that I give myself the greatest grace around. It's not about weakness. There's nothing wrong with you. In this very overwhelmed world, we do not have a script for this. We should be feeling much of these feelings, as is everybody else who used to be able to catch us and bring us back home. So we're struggling a little bit in that regard, but it's too much brilliance without boundaries. We just got to do a little bit better at giving ourselves the grace, the boundaries, the benefit of the doubt, so that we can get to the access to the best parts of us. Okay, so I'm sorry, I jumped into our 10 minutes into our questions. But thank you, thank you, thank you. Mwah. And now we have time for questions. Marty, the amazing Marty is bringing over some questions. Thank you so much.
These were emailed and from the chat.
Emailed and from the chat. Okay, all right. So overthinking questions. Seeing my 11-year-old daughter develop the same problems is awful. Oh, mama. She has very little self-esteem, has anxiety, and tends to overthink as well. She just started middle school, and I was wondering if you have any suggestions to help settle young minds at night. Yes, I do. Okay. Now, here's my favorite thing. When I ask people, are they worried about kids these days? Have you seen a change in kids these days? The vast majority of people will say yes. Okay. They are always on their devices. They overthink everything. They don't know how to work. They are life sucking, attention seeking cayuse that are very disrespectful, and they don't know how to take direction, and they do not know how to be bored. It's so amazing when people give me this sort of diatribe, like particularly when I'm a room of educators or day home workers or whatever. And I was like, well, holy shit, we're screwed. Huh? If that is how we think about the next generation, we're in big trouble. Okay. Because I will tell you, I've assessed and treated over 1,000 kids in this country, and not one time have I met a bad one. Not one time. I meet increasingly overwhelmed and lonely babies, and they're losing access to the best parts of themselves. Now, my alternate question is, particularly if you're teachers or you work in any human services profession, have you noticed a change in parents these days? Oh, you have! Shocking! Shocking! People say this to me. Parents are always on their phones. They're overwhelmed. They're feeling very incompetent. They don't know what to do with kids these days. La 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 la. Who's the problem? The big people aren't okay. The little people don't stand a chance. Now, Mama, I am not suggesting that you are causing this in your child. What I want us to consider is the fact that they will do what we do. And I say this to my children all the time. We have developed cell phone policies for kids in schools. Do you know what we need to develop? Cell phone policies for teachers. Cell phone policies for parents. Because I have a rule in my house that my kids, 2 days screen free. They can pick which days they want, because I also understand that they connect to their friends and they play the games and they do other things. But you got to pick 2 days. You should see how hard those 2 days are for them. What am I going to do? Figure your shit out. That's what you're going to do. And they're like, can you play volleyball with me, Mom? I'm like, oh shit. How about you just go back on your device? Like, I'm 50 and I am not designed for volleyball. Okay. But then I have to physically go outside and bruise my wrists, these very tender wrists. I mean, I wasn't good at it in Viking, Alberta in 1992. You should see this old girl try to get her up now. Ugh, things are coming apart, you know? But that's the best part, is when we put these limits in place, those things happen. So when I think about your 11-year-old baby, I have a 12-year-old, 12 twins, and I have to, the discipline of really being careful about how much time we're on devices in the evening is so crazy. The double screening is a term. Triple screening is a term. And what that means is you are watching TV and on a device. You have double input coming in. Okay. So you've got the Blue Jays game on and you're playing Block Blast. My mom is on level 5 billion on Candy Crush. Now, there is no way you cannot spend a significant amount of your time, Baba, on the iPad to get to that level. I mean, that's crazy. That is like Olympics. That's Candy Crush Olympic shit. Okay. And what that means is that there's a lot of double screen, which there's a lot of input coming in at that time, which means you're taking away the best parts of you. Okay. There's a numbing that happens in that. So all I want you to think about with your 11-year-old baby is the data is really interesting. Jonathan Haidt wrote probably the best book out of 2024 called The Anxious Generation, talking a lot about how we thought that devices were good kids. So when my baby was born, our oldest was born in 2010, you should have saw him with baby Einstein. I spent every extra money I could on a baby Einstein, and I would demonstrate to the grandparents how well he could whip around an iPad, because we thought that was good. You understand? We also thought smoking was good once. Do you remember that? You could have you smoked on planes. You people remember that? Huh? That's how good we thought it was. Let's lock you in a tube with carcinogenic smoke. What could go wrong? We also thought technological advances at a rapid rate was good. And we are now very aware, despite the fact that the horse is out of the barn, that this is problematic. And so there will be some radical efforts that need to take place in order to prevent some of those issues. And we also have to be very aware that this is the world we live in. So when we disregard it all and it's technology is the problem, it's not. Technological advances are brilliant. I hope we cure cancer. I hope we understand dementia in a different way. It's not the problem. It's how we use it that is the issue. And it really will become the discipline of connection. So when I'm thinking about that for your own children, our own children, slowing devices at least an hour before bedtime, getting our kids outside, which means we're going to have to go outside, watching and Aaron and I are so guilty about this. Our 15-year-old often goes to bed later than us sometimes, particularly if I have to catch a flight or something. And it is a huge mistake on my part to trust the fact that he's going to turn that off because he doesn't. He's not that good. Okay, lights out at 10. And there's been many times that, I get up to pee at 11:30 and he's still up. They're not that good. And so that capacity to be able to regulate that is problematic. And we live in far more single parent households. We have far less access to grandparent and grandparent-like figures. We have far little, our villages are decreasing, which means it's becoming very difficult for us to do this on our own. A lot of this is falling on educators and teachers. They are some of the most brilliant people in our worlds. Teachers spend more waking hours with our kids than the primary caregivers do in the run of a school week. I've made a post about that this day. If we do not continue to treat them like the village, like a connection part of our worlds, they need to know that because they'll skate through walls for you. When you slip a bottle of wine into your kid's backpack, tip for free, your teachers work harder. Just kidding, just joking. People are like, what? Yeah, no, don't tell anybody that. But right? I'm not wrong, Adam. I'm not wrong. But I mean things like notes. Thank you for looking after our kids. The first week of school, I sent a teacher the note to the twins' teacher because I don't even know how she's going to handle this year. Often Asher's high school teachers, Asher's high school principal, who is probably one of the most holiest women on the planet, right? Just a little note, just a little stop by. All of those things are how we fuel each other. And when we consider that as grandparents, volunteers in our organizations, stop by with muffins, a note, tuck it under their windshield wiper. I want you to know I'm so grateful for you. I see how hard you work for this community. At the grocery store, you don't even know who's going to get that note. It don't matter because we are all just here walking each other home. And this has nothing to do with your question. So I'm going to circle back to that now because I probably overthought that answer. Only got through one question. My point is that I want you to consider, you can't tell your babies how to be great. You have to show them. And our kids are also at a time where they should be overthinking at night. They are overwhelmed with lots of stuff. This has nothing to do with you, parents. Your kids should be dysregulated at this point. There's nothing wrong with you. I want them to lose their minds with you. They should be the worst when they're with you. If people say, "Oh God, they're great here. They were fine till you got home," you're doing something right. Because you have to name it. I hope all your kids get arrested once. That's what I hope. At least once. They should be doing drugs. They should be vaping in the bathroom. Yep, you bet. Get suspended. Bring it. Because you need a script for your heart to be broken. You need a script for when you get cut from the AA team or the B team. You should hate your local hockey coach. You should be having those conversations. This is life. If we want everybody to be happy and calm all the time, we are doing a disservice because nobody's happy all the time. My biggest wish for your children and mine is that they have a script to handle all of it. And the only way they develop that script is we show them how to do it. It's going to break our hearts when their little hearts break. It's going to worry us when they can't sleep or they ruminate about being bullied or being whatever. Normal. Let me say it for the kids in the back. Normal, heartbreaking. If anybody ever told me parenting was going to be this hard, I would have got off this bus long ago. I've already said to the kids, I've decided I don't want children. Your father and I talked about it, and we're decided we're going child free. So I don't know what's going to happen now here. You guys are 12 and 15, but we'll help you find somewhere to go, but we're just not interested anymore. Yeah. I never thought it was going to be this hard. Mostly because my mom is so good. My dad was so good. I thought, anyways, actually, they're not. I was going to say they weren't that good, but they are. You are too. And it's not going to feel like it in this moment because it's not supposed to. So I hope that helps. Number two, what do you do when it's the middle of the night and your brain just won't switch off from ruminating and problem solving? Get up, get out of bed, or blink, blink, blink. Okay. A couple of things that I think is really critical for people. I want you to break the cycle. So if that means you get up, you pee, you shake your body out, you stretch, that's part of it. The other thing that is absolutely critical for me is I tell my body, in this moment, I am safe. I drop my shoulders. I pay very close attention to where my tongue is. And I go over and over and over. I start at the top and I go to my toes. I start at the top of my head and I go to my toes. And I do that as many times. It's almost like a counting sheep. Some people read up their book to distract, to try to quiet their mind, any of those kind of things that'll help you. If you can give it a little bit of space and remind your body that you are safe, that you will think about this again in the morning, that there's nothing you're going to do in this moment. And it's very, very difficult if you're fighting cancer or somebody you love is dying or you're in the middle of grief, like things that just take your whole heart and soul. And so what I want you to do is get out of your head and into your body. So start at the top of your head, go to the tip of your toes again and again and again, and you relax every piece of it. Consider where your eyes are, consider relaxing your every hair on your head, where your tongue is, where your jaw is, where your clavicle is, where your shoulders are. And you go over and over and over. If you have to do that 150 times, babe, I'd rather you think like that than all the things that possibly could go wrong. That sweep of your body will serve you way better from a neurochemical perspective than continuing the spin. Okay, so give that a shot. I bet you're going to sleep better. And get your device out of your fucking bedroom. Please. That was a note to myself. Can overthinking be a side effect of trauma and be a processing skill of survival during stress? Yes. So if you've ever seen me do a talk on trauma, overthinking is a direct function and very tightly connected in the world of PTSD. You can imagine why, because the definition of trauma is encoding something in terror and not integrating it. Many of us, all of us experience trauma, which means we encode something in terror. Okay. An accident, something we can't get out of, sometimes birthing our babies, many things. Often when I work with police officers, first responders, you can imagine, you're at a scene and you're stuck there. Part of the issue with trauma is not what happens to you. In fact, all of the issue is not what happens to you, it's what happens inside of you that I'm most interested in, and what you do with it. Because in a moment when you have a kid that says, fuck you, I hate you, and they've flipped over everything, or you're at the scene of a crime or you're scene of an MBA, for example, and you see somebody hurt that you can't help, or there are too many people hurt and you can't help them, all of those things. You shouldn't code that in terror. You watch your dad, their last breath, whatever that deal is, sometimes that is the scariest thing you've ever seen, okay? You can handle all of that. We are wired for all of that on this planet. We were just never meant to do it alone because we need somewhere to put it. And typically, women integrate experiences faster and easier than men. Why? Boys don't cry. Highest rate of suicide in our country, in North America, middle-aged men, by a landslide. 3 out of 4. Boys don't cry. You have to name it to tame it. And I'm very cognizant about this with our sons. I'm very diligent about this with our daughter. because we come from a long line of people, and not because it's our fault or their fault or anybody's fault, but there's very clear expectations that boys suck it up, be tough. You got it. I heard this in the hockey dressing room last week. You're skating like a girl. The expectations are very big, you understand, particularly for white, straight, able-bodied men. Because marginalized peoples, no matter, I can't claim to understand this as a white privileged woman, but marginalized people for long-standing histories have had to look for connection when they enter the room. If they're a person of color, they look for other people of color for safety. White people, particularly white men, do not enter a room and look for connection. They look for competition. So there is no built-in inherent communities that say, you got me, I got you. What we have is this. Yeah, you want to fucking go? Bruh. I don't know why this is happening, but there's a lot of gyrating, and this is a chest bump, but when you have a chest, you can't bump. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, whatever. So I always find that line of thinking so fascinating, particularly, as being married to a very traditional kind of farmer fella. And then my 2 sons, I think about them all the time. My daughter, I think about her all the time. All right, so good, we got 5 more minutes. Okay. I've been going through a separation with so many things said and emotions involved. I want to do something and make steps to act on it. Going on a date, for example, yes, you should. Then I get paralyzed thinking, have I done the right thing? I start second guessing sometimes, and I know that's my ego. I know better. Just get caught in the head, heart tug of war. Any advice or strategies? Listen, I love this question because about 360 of us could answer this question. What would we say to this sweet human? We would say things like this: come back home. Drop those shoulders and be very clear about how hard you've worked to get here. There is no right way to do this life. And if you found yourself in this position, you only got one shot at it. You deserve it. And those stories that are in your head, check them, right? Because often how we tell ourselves before we step into a new relationship or a new job offer or any of those new sort of experiences completely dictate the way we show up. Your energy enters a room before you do. And so what's really critical is oftentimes the experience of just doing it is way more important than thinking about it. Maybe you'll mess it up. The good news is you got 87 options to swipe right. Give this fella a shot. If not, get back in the old Tindy and swipe again. I don't even know if that's a thing, but I mean, seriously, you got to practice. Okay. If you're out of sync in a dating world, get back on the proverbial horse. Okay. Thinking about it's just like you want to build biceps. You can't read about it. Okay. Oh, I want to be fit. I'm going to read fitness magazines. No, it doesn't work. You actually have to move your body. You understand? The same thing happens when we're going to take on new chapters of our life, new jobs, new risks. And part of this overthinking piece means when we step into our body, we have to take that risk, and then things are rewritten. Have you ever heard that experience or had that experience where it's sort of like it was never as bad as you thought it was going to be? Because you spent so much time thinking about it, and then you actually do it and you're like, huh. A lot of this is if you can't do that internally, find your people who will remind you of that. Because sometimes we can't. This is where we need a best friend, a buddy, a mom, somebody who can be like, listen, if you do not take that exam by next week, I'm taking away your birthday. If you do not go on that date, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna put you on to Tinder and you're gonna go on a date tomorrow with it, and it's gonna be awful. Go see if you could screw it up. See, get the shortest, ugliest fella you can find and go. Not like short people are bad. Many people I love are short. I don't know why I said that. Take that back. We're gonna cut that off of that. The idea is it does not matter. So much about this is practice because you are way better than you think you are. I promise you. I promise you. Okay. How do you get rid of mom guilt? Fuck. When you figure it out, let me know. Okay? Don't be dumb. You don't. Guilt is born at conception. Who wrote this question? Why did you even put this in here? This is dumb. Just kidding. Just joking. Okay, I'll keep going. How do you get rid of mom guilt? I am an ECE. Okay, so you do holy work. and take care of a room full of children all day and then come home to my own. Yeah, and guess what? You hate them. Yeah? Is that what you're going to say? That's probably what you're going to say now. You feel shitty because you love on everybody else's kids and you come home and you hate your own. Normal. I know I need time alone or a night away, but I feel awful whenever I'm away from my kids, like I'm shirking my responsibilities. Your girls are 8 and 11. Okay, number one. Your daughters are watching their mom do some of the holiest work on the planet. You cannot tell your babies how to chase your dreams. You cannot tell your babies how to be healthy. You have to show them. And when we continue to push and don't set limits and priorities in and of ourselves, I mean, when we make decisions to have children, I think there is a massive responsibility to do the best we can with what we have for them on any given day. But I will tell you what, as a mom, and you can take this or leave it, if I'm not okay, my babies don't stand a chance. That is not selfish. That is loving them. And when I get to do the work that I love to do, I'm better for them. When I say, you know what, tonight, so and so is going to come hang out with you because I need a night to me. We're going to miss you, Mom. Do you even love us? No, actually, I don't. I'm not going to miss you. I mean, you shouldn't say that, but like I have many times lied and said, it's awful. But here's the point. The story in our head is the expectation, particularly as women, is that we are supposed to do it all in this season, and we are not that good. We are not that good. And Erin and I talk about this quite often, about the role reversal that has happened sometimes in this world of women, where women, I mean, we are the first generation that are really rewriting the script, and we don't have clear roles for this, right? I spend way more time in the role than my husband does. I make way more money than my husband does. Don't tell him that, but I'm so jacked about that. He sometimes has to ask for things. Fucking right to do. Beat it. Now, we are the first generation trying to understand how we navigate that. And that is so critical to talk about, because I also don't want to make him feel or make us feel in this relationship that somebody's better than. We got here for a reason together, but we don't have a script for this. And so what becomes really critical is when we're rewriting this for our children, we cannot do this all. We cannot be expected to house everything together. And the data is really irrefutable around this. Can I tell you something? Married men are happier, live longer, they're less suicidal and less homicidal. Shocking. The exact opposite is true for women. Single women are happier, healthier, live longer, less homicidal, less suicidal. That data scares me because we are still neurobiologically wired for connection. We do best when we're together. And when we understand what we contribute and bring to the table, when we understand how to regulate our own systems, we end up in much healthier relationships where we find empathy, where we see the benefit of the doubt, where we find the goodness in our people. And it's so interesting to me because the people we love the most are suspicious when we're kind. That's how I'm reminded that I'm missing the mark with my own husband, is if I send him a note and say things like, I just wanted to tell you, I'm thinking about you today. I'm so proud of you. And his response is like, what did you buy? Are you having an affair? Right out of the gate, because the people we love the most are suspicious when we're kind. And oftentimes we forget to refuel the pieces around us because we need to feed our village if we want to be fed by the village. And sometimes we get into this standoff with like, oh yeah, why do I always have to be the one? Here's the truth. Lion's share is going to fall on the most regulated person in your relationship. Is it shitty? Yeah. Does that mean we need to do an even better job of caring for us and finding best friends who you can travel with on the road and have a bottle of wine with every other night? Yes, 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 you do. That is how we survive on this planet, not with necessarily wine, but certainly in the place of connection. And not just texting, you have to show up for each other. There is a neurobiological difference that happens when you're in the same room as the people who see you that you cannot replicate on an email or a text. And I know you're tired and I know you would rather sleep or stay at home and watch your Netflix, but bitch, get off your couch. See your people, pull them into your hearts, because this is what we're made for. We won't automate it. I promise you. Okay. Oh my God, it's 8:03. All right. I didn't get to a lot of these questions, but just know that all of the resources are there for you. Can I tell you this little tip for free? This was the most highly attended workshop we've ever done. So thank you. Thank you for this. Thank you for showing up for me in this community. I'm going to do a pop-up workshop in 2 weeks called Behind the Bench for hockey coaches and parents. Mostly because I want to throat punch most people in the hockey community right now. And no, I just don't actually. It's the greatest sport of all time. But I think we need to talk a little bit about the responsibility of coaches and parents in this season. So that's in 2 Mondays from now. Usually I only do them every couple of months, but I thought it was timely to talk to parents and coaches, and mostly women attend these things. So bring your partners, grab some snacks, and send it to your teams. So we'll see you in a couple of Mondays if you're free. If not, then our next one I think is on the website. But thanks for coming tonight. Drop your shoulders. Go shine bright in this world. I am just so grateful you were here, and all we need is each other. I promise you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, honey.
Thanks, Jody.
You're welcome, buddy.
Thanks, Jody.
Thank you.
Ah,
Thank you.
Thanks, Jody.
that.
Thanks, Jody.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good night.
Good
Thanks,
night,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you.
What?
Thanks, Jody.
You're welcome, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Annette. I love this part. Marty say, shut it. No. Stay with me, people. So I just say end meeting. Is that what I do? Yeah. Okay.